On August 1st, 1907, a group of 22 boys set out on a camping trip on a small British island. They'd been invited to Brownsea Island by Lieutenant General Robert Baden-Powell, a British war hero. Some of the boys were already part of the Boys' Brigade, which was a youth activity group that often spent time outdoors. But what they didn't know was that they were going to be part of history. Since that first trip 100 years ago, Scouting has grown to include 28 million scouts in 216 countries and territories. Utah alone has 170,000 scouts, and Utah County has 802 scout troops.
Before 1918, before the big flu epidemic, I went to the library at Coffeyville, Kansas from the farm. I had to walk 12 miles to the library to check out a scout book, to take it home and read it. And I read that thing from cover to cover several times, practically got it memorized, building up my dream of becoming a Boy Scout when I got old enough.
The organization has changed in the past 100 years, but much has stayed the same. Baden-Powell taught Scouts to develop good citizenship and leadership through training and outdoor activities. Those values remain in Scouting today.
The fact, or the main aim for Scouting is to create young men of character. And that, I think, has never been a greater demand than today, simply because there are so many influences on young men. They need something as an alternative to what the world is offering.
Another part of Baden-Powell's vision that hasn't changed is making Scouting available to all boys. There are now even outreach groups to get kids involved in Scouting who otherwise wouldn't be interested. After all, Scouting is about the boys.
My current emphasis is on the outreach program, which we call Scoutreach, which is marketing to the youth that need Scouting most. So now the marketing strategy has changed. Rather than going out and camping in the woods and building fires, it's trying to teach those same skills of citizenship and physical fitness and character development in ways that we can attract the youth otherwise. But we try and mix the two. I mean, with the soccer and Scouting, last year we took 45 boys to day camp. Most of them have never been to any kind of camping activity. So we took them up to the Camp Jeremiah Johnson up Springville, up Popple Creek Canyon, and they got to go on the rafts and do the archery, do some of the outdoor stuff, learn a little bit of first aid, and of course it's going to be something that they'll never forget, you know, when they went up in the mountains and caught a fish for the first time or whatever it was.
At the first Scout camp, Baden-Powell had the boys practice tracking, observation, fire building, and other outdoor survival skills. They prayed, had flag ceremonies, and played games. It wasn't too different from Scout camps today.
We would go out in the lake, would swamp the canoe, would learn to float on our clothes, and we were doing this all in a freezing cold lake. And when I say freezing cold, in the mornings you would have a little edge of ice around the edge of the lake. We would shiver. We were so cold because we were just in our skivvies going from the lake back to our camp, picking up our stuff, because everything was soaked. Because you go out clothed, by the time you come back, you've taken everything off and learned how to float on it, swamp a canoe, unswamp a canoe out in the middle of the lake. So you are just numb, and you know, I guess at the time we thought it was the coolest thing to do because no one else was doing it. But it taught me to prepare for what you may not expect, to go prepared for cold weather when you think it's going to be warm.
Unlike that first camp on Brownsea Island, Boy Scouts now use developed camps like Maple Dell in Payson Canyon, Camp Steiner near Mirror Lake, or the enormous Philmont Scout Ranch in northern New Mexico. But they still do activities to develop leadership and other skills.
Baden-Powell himself said that every boy should be a first-class scout, and after that, whether they got their Star Life or Eagle, that was really kind of icing on the cake. But what he really wanted was opportunities to develop character and opportunities for boys to be mentored by someone other than their own parent. And those things, to me, are really important. I take a lot of time doing some side one-on-one work with these young men. And it's not about, well, so when you can become an Eagle. It's about life, you know, it's about character-building opportunities.
Scoutmasters have played an important role in the organization from the beginning. In 1911, Baden-Powell realized he couldn't handle the growing number of scouts by himself, so he started giving lectures to train scoutmasters. Those leaders have played an important role in the organization ever since, helping the boys become responsible men.
When I got to Raton, this D.R. Durrett asked me, he says, we need a scoutmaster. He says, we've got a bunch of boys that's really unruly. He says, we can't keep a scoutmaster. They run everybody off. He says, they're just ornery boys. I said, good, I'll take it. I took that bunch of boys. I was with them for 5 years. Really made a good bunch of boys out of them, got Eagle Scouts out of them. They never run me off. I was too much for them.